Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the One Step Better Business podcast with Mike and Matt. Hopefully, you all are having a great day as we move into summertime. This is always a little bit of a kind of a sit back and you kind of recap tax season. We get to recap everything that's coming out of what would be traditionally called busy season and get to work on some different projects. One of those projects that we're working on is some of the leadership stuff within the firm. One of the things that I think we've realized is as we've grown, we've spent a good bit of time developing people on how to do things, not as much time on how to manage people, how to develop people. And so it's one of the things that we're going to work on here in the next few months and also be a good thing to talk about today. So Matt Patrick, welcome.
What's up, buddy? How are you?
Well.
This is something I think this is definitely a growing pain issue more than anything. That we get into these weeds so fast of like I do the stuff, and then you're like, why aren't my people doing a good job of managing other people? Or, why do we run one-on-one meetings 17 different ways? I'm like, we really haven't ever had like a formal. This is how that looks. Here's the expectation. Here's the rhythm that we have. And then at what point do you start to trying to develop the people to do these things? Because it doesn't come naturally. I've said this before, and you've heard me say it a bunch. Is like, this is the first day I've ever led this many people. Or,
Yeah.
when I remember when I became a manager, way back, at Deloitte, it was, all right, you're now a manager. What does that mean? Am I just managing the work, or am I managing the people? Am I trying to coach them? Am I like, what's my role?
What am I managing exactly?
What am I managing? I'm just making sure I'm managing the work gets done. And a lot of what we do is managing the work getting done, but it's more than that. And I feel like it's something I think we struggle with. I think we are trying, it's something not say struggle is probably the wrong word. It's something that we're intentionally trying to improve upon because it's not as good as we want it to be.
Yeah. Yeah. A little bit of history here, a little bit of kind of structure. Our model is we have team leads that kind of manage a group of people. Typically, it's going to be 5 to 8 people, a little bit on the heavy side of that right now. And that person is responsible for leading their team. And then we have multiple teams. So multiple team leads that all roll up into a director of accounting role. One of the things I think that we realized is that as we put somebody in that team lead position, we gave them different responsibilities on but what their outcomes are for managing the people, what we expect them to do to manage people. What we didn't do a great job is actually teach them how to do that.
Yeah. Just do it, Mike.
It's
figure it out.
It's like, why do I need to tell you that? Right.
You'll figure it out. You'll figure it out.
And our team leads have done a great job of trying to figure that out and navigate that stuff. But like you said, it's one of those things that I know is not as good as it should be. And I think this is probably a struggle for every accounting firm.
Every company, every business in the universe of like, because we said it like, so I think back, why do we have team leads? Well, it's because we were asking, we had a manager way back when we had a group of managers, and those managers could be working with 6 or 7 different staff. And then from there, they would have to, the staff were having to work with 5 or 6 different managers. And next thing you know, you were like, what's my priorities? And who's my actual supervisor? Is it
who can fire me?
Who can fire me?
Can all of them fire me?
Well, then we said, well, we need a team. We need a director of accounting. So we have a director of accounting, and that turns into, okay, you're managing all 20 people, not just the managers, but the staff under the managers. So now she's like, I can't effectively manage 20 people. I can't have one-on-ones with 20 people every month. Yeah. And I can't, balance all the priorities over what work is this time of year and that type of year and help you develop people and make sure all the work's getting done. So we need to create like these little pods or hubs to get the work done. Well, that makes sense. And then you're like, okay, but just because they're really good at the work doesn't mean they're really good at the managing of the people part, or they're really good at the managing people part, but not really good at the work. So it's like, we run into, all right, we only have so many people that can be in this role that are at that are ready to be in that role. And then we kind of say, okay, you're now in that role, and here's what we want that to be, and good luck.
Yeah. So I mean, it's not really much different
Matt
than
Patrick did it when I was a new owner. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah, but it's the old adage of, if I take my best salesperson and make them a sales leader. I take my best operational leader and I make them a manager. I take my best whatever employee and make them the leader of a
Mhm.
department. And that is really easy to do, especially in a small business. And it's at some point, I think we're there now, where you kind of sit up and say, well, that quasi worked for us, and we never really asked the question, are they a good leader? Can they do the leadership piece of that new role? Yeah, they were great at getting work done, but quite frankly, in our office, getting the work done and being even a client facing accounting and tax manager is very different than what we're asking out of our team leads. Although part of the job of a team lead is also to do the same things that they would do as an accounting and tax manager. And so it's the constant struggle of, you're doing a great job in your role and I want to promote you. I want to give you more responsibilities. Thankfully, the people that we've done that with have done a good job of taking on those responsibilities. But now it's like one of those things where, well, we need to do that. We need to do that 3 more times, 4 more times as we continue to grow. And it's like, well, one of these times we're going to screw this up and we're going to put somebody in that team lead role that we're really good in the production, and they're not going to be good at the people piece of this.
Oh yeah. And I think that's something that we can kind of see that a little bit with our people we got now. It's not bad against them. It's we're all learning how to manage people, and what does that mean to manage people, and how do I have that conversation if they're not performing the way we want them to have, and what is the accountability they really can have? Does the people understand that structure? We have not done a great job of developing the next team leads, because I don't know if we've really defined we have defined what a team lead is, but do we have a development plan to develop the next?
It's hard to define the characteristics of somebody that would be successful in that role.
Correct.
Because our natural bend is to think through the work piece of it.
Yeah. And it's the only experience we have right now is what they're working on.
Yeah.
So I'm going, well, they're really nice, and they care about the team and they live our values, but are they really good at having difficult conversations? Are they really good at of saying, hey, that's not good enough. That's not how we do things here. Let me correct you. And we need to have a more intentional plan of how we're going to do that. I know that I've talked to some other firms, and I think this is something that they all run into. Like, how long have you had they asked me, how long have you had a leadership team? We've had a leadership team since 2018. That's 8 years. And we start thinking that through, and you're like, in the beginning, it was just kind of like, okay, we need to put a container around this work enough to know who's kind of own this, because, we can't all own everything. And then we're like, well, there's been some evolution of our leadership team. We roll out EOS. That changes some of the understanding of how we want to lead and our business is organized. Well, that changes some things. And then you figure like, okay, now we have these team leads. And I'm like, okay, great. That takes me to like, are we running good one-on-ones? Are they effective? Are we correcting behavior at the right time, at the right frequency, keeping everybody on the straight and narrow, and understanding that's not micromanaging, but just managing your people? Following the EOS model of the leader, your role is leadership plus management equals accountability. I would say over time, we've always had a little bit of a struggle with accountability, because like, if somebody doesn't do something that we want them to do and it's not work related, we'd be like, well, they're not entering their time, but it's not one to fire them over that.
Yeah.
But there was really like, what's the accountability if I'm not going to fire them over them not entering their time, or them not getting their work done, not getting their work done, they're going to get fired, right? That's just, we kind of always had that line in the sand, but like, they didn't really handle that client situation we want them to handle, or they're not, developing the staff the way we want to. And those were all, and we still struggle with those things today. It's no different as it's now it's just bigger and there's more of it. And it's like, we've kind of isolated some of those problems, but there's still a struggle with what is the corrective behavior rhythm we want to have? What is the one-on-one effect? What's the effectiveness? Why we do these one-on-ones, and what's the accountability to make sure they're happening and the people are being developed and the people have a plan of development? That's all stuff that I think that it's something we need to work on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that one of my fears, or really kind of evolutions of the way I think about it, is I really like to ascribe measurable value to people from a work standpoint. And so it's easy to say an accounting and tax manager should be able to maintain a book of business of $800,000 of ARR, whatever it is. That's easy to do. I can't always ascribe a value to say, well, if we're going to take work off of them, now they're not going to have 800K of work, but they're going to take on all of this people management responsibility. Is that really enough value? Am I really replacing enough value in what I'm taking off for the math to make sense? And if I'm just being honest, there are days in which it's like, you know what? Maybe we don't need to. Maybe we just need to bury people in work and get things done. And that's just a cop out. You know, it's a shortcut, and it's going to end poorly if we, ever did that. But it's tough to not really be able to measure the ROI of the people management piece.
Yeah, I mean, I look at myself versus other firms sometimes, and you're like, man, I have a lot of people not in a production role.
Mm-hmm.
Well, is that driving my efficiency or causing inefficiency? Are we creating bureaucracy? Like, we have 7 accounting and tax managers today. We have, 14 staff and seniors, and all together, I think is basically what the number is. We have a director of accounting, and you're like, we're creating some layers for development, which causes an efficiency in the short term, but efficiency in the long run. But if we never flip that script over and never capitalize on it, then all we've really done is create a bureaucracy across the board.
Yeah.
And so, like, I wonder often if, we constantly have the trouble as our team structure, right? If we have the right roles, and what is the development plan for a senior accountant versus a new manager coming on board with us? Why can't we find new managers coming? And I think a lot of these stem from the same issue of going, I need a developmental plan for every person. And at the same time, I got the work done.
Yeah.
And there's always that tension. And it's the same tension we run into with, like, just training in general versus production. I know we need to do more training. We do a ton of training already, and it still doesn't seem like enough.
Yeah.
But also, I don't know how much more to do it. And so, like, what is the right rhythm for that? I don't know.
I think we talked about this, just last week. It was like, what is the right amount of time to devote to training?
Yep.
And then, and even within that, let's say that, we make up number, we're going to do an hour a week or whatever it is. Then there's always the budgeting part of, all right, this training is going to be on this topic, and that training is going to be on this topic. And then, I mean, if we had to create 52 trainings for the entire year right now, we'd be able to do it at the drop of a hat and still feel like we have 400 other things that we aren't talking about.
Correct.
Because it's tough to find, all right, this is because we have the piece of, all right, I need to train a new person on how to use QuickBooks, how to use Bill.com,
the technical of what we do,
all of this, the tool sets of what we do. And then there's the training on how we do it, the process piece of that. There's the training on the overarching big picture system of what we're trying to accomplish. And we haven't even started to talk about, this is how we talk to each other here. This is what
here's how we serve a client. Here's what it means to have a mid-year meeting or an end-of-year meeting or a tax projection meeting, or here's how you do a tax return, or here's how we onboard a client. Like, it goes on and on and on, and you have different people at different levels.
Today's sponsor is Cloud Accountant Staffing. Every firm owner I talk to is asking the same question right now. Should we hire offshore? I'll tell you what we're doing about it. We've hired offshore before, and we're actively working with Cloud Accountant Staffing right now on a couple of roles at Patrick Accounting. The reason we pick them, they take the fear out of it. Disclosure, security, onboarding someone across the world. They've walked tons of firms through it. Their portal is really easy to use. It lets you browse real candidates that are available to hire right now, book interviews yourself. You can have them vet them for you. They help you with the whole process. So head to cloudaccountantsstaffing.com right now. Links in the show notes.
I think that's always been a struggle. I don't know how to fix it. I think that's a tension that we always have to manage, because even on top of that, we're in a regulatory environment where every year, at least, we're going to have something different in tax code. And now we have to train all of our tax folks on some of that stuff. And it's one of those things that you just,
we could do a lunch and learn every day of the year.
Yeah.
And never have the same topic twice.
Yeah.
And, like, you start thinking through, like,
maybe that's the answer.
we just value lunch for every day. We have lunch training every day. No one gets off. And that's the thing, is, like, also, is that the right medium for it? So, like, okay, we want to do this in a way that we can not disturb everybody's schedules. They have appointments they want to run with a client, or they have appointments that they want to, whatever, like, what's the frequency? So, like, we have training on technical topics. We have training embedded inside of our meeting rhythm. So we have We have a L10 every week that our team runs. A part of that is a little bit of mini training. Our accounting team's running through what we call Thrive Thursdays right now, which means on every Thursday, they're doing a lunch and learn on a different topic, which is a staff is learning how to train. So we're also having to have time involved in preparation for the training of the people doing the training. You have to have some kind of review process of that to make sure that, hey, I want the staff to do the training on this, but let's make sure it's good before we get everybody in the dang room.
Yep.
We have, we brought on a new firm. So we have how we do things in the firm. Well, that turned into, hey, I don't really feel like you guys are doing enough communication. Like, I don't know how much more we could do. I don't know how to make that any more than we're doing with 60 people. And I'm like, oh, we have interdepartment issues. We have payroll and accounting. We have sales and accounting. We have sales and payroll. We have accounting and payroll. Like, it's constant. You're like, I struggle with how much is too much, how much is not enough. We try to do recorded training so that, like, hey, this is online. We have we've done a good job of building out our LMS. All this stuff is kind of tied together. Oh, and on top of that, let's add on people management.
Yep.
That's where we get to today. And I'm like, okay, what's the meeting rhythm? We're going to add another lunch and learn. Okay. What does that look like? How are we going to do it?
It's almost like, all right,
who's in that room?
What training are we going to remove from the calendar in order to be able to put something on the calendar where we're going to talk about how to have effective one-on-ones, how to communicate with our teammates and our clients, how to hold people accountable, how to have difficult conversations, how to address character issues, how do we live out our values, what they even mean. And it's just like, can we just
can we just do some work already?
Remember the Matrix? You just like plug it in and
I know.
Can we just do that? Yeah,
I know
Kung Fu.
I know Kung Fu.
And oh yeah, by the way, there's a deadline coming up next week.
Yeah. Every day is a deadline. If it's payroll, every day is a deadline. If it's accounting, we just finished. We need to work 50 hours a week to get all the stuff done. Oh, and by the way, and so it's just a constant battle. And I wish that people understood. I feel like our team understands. Like, we want them to have every exposure. So then it becomes, okay, let's create our frameworks so they know how to think, so they know kind of what our belief systems are, how we would want these to happen. And so then it's just holding them accountable to that and kind of keep nudging them.
Yeah, that's where our values come in.
And that's where we kind of land today, I think. Our values are our guiding light of how we want to operate. And that's how we train off of that. And we need to reinforce that. And we need to repeat. But all that goes back to, okay, we know we want to be able to hold people accountable. Well, how do we do that? What does that rhythm look like? Because we talked about this in a meeting recently. It was like, it's not formulaic. It can't just be like, this is how it's always going to work, because every situation is exactly the same. It's not.
Yep.
So that's kind of where we are. That's what we're working on, struggling with. If you guys have any wonderful, this works for us 100% of the time and it's the best thing we ever did, we would love to learn.
Yeah. Please teach.
Please teach us.
Or come just.
But I know this is not something that we're not alone in this. Right. I mean, at least I don't think we are.
No. So I think about this through the flip side, right? Because we do often get comments or questions about from other firm owners where it's like, well, how
did you develop your leaders?
Do you develop people? How did you get the people in the seat? Because we see a lot on the other side of that where you do have, maybe it's still the owner or a couple of ATMs within side of a firm.
Everybody.
They have everything is hitting their desk and they're overwhelmed with that. I don't even have time to think about doing people management or leadership stuff because I have too much work to get done.
Yeah, I still have I'm a full section manager. I think of two managers right now that I know.
I have 1.5 of a full section. A section and a half is on me.
Oh, and I also am leading a team of 15 people.
Yeah,
and I'm being asked to evolve the practice, and I'm being asked to, hey, what am I doing with AI? What am I doing with the tax updates? Oh, I'm also the person who is responsible for meeting with all the clients when there's an issue, or I'm servicing the client. So it's like, yeah, that's what we all run into, and I think that's not uncommon. I'd say this: we've done a good job of identifying people that have the characteristics of the people we want to be a leader, and no one is ready the moment you put them in that leadership seat. We have never found that to be the case yet.
Sure.
And so if we all are living off of our values and we know what our rules are and we're holding ourselves accountable to that and we trust each other, that we're all working toward the same direction, we're going to put people in places before they're ready. And then we have to be willing to say, hey, we're still figuring this out, but this is where trust and conflict and all those things have to be, work their way through the system a little bit. And that I'm going to have to be direct with you along the way to say, you're not leading as good as I really wish you would. And here's why. Mm-hmm. And we need to do some coaching on that. And that's because I love you and I want you to be a leader here. And that's what it requires.
Yeah.
And that's where it gets difficult. Because now I'm learning how to have difficult conversations, and I'm still that's not something that comes naturally to me. And so I have to be willing to say, we're not leading as well as we wish we could. And then it's like, well, if I don't have the trust built up with them, then I'm worried about them being defensive or not adapting to the change. And then I'm like, well, I don't want to talk about it because God forbid they were to walk out, because that's who I'm relying on to lead this thing.
Yeah,
and so,
yeah.
And that's really hard on everybody. And that puts a lot of stress on everybody and turmoil. And
I think the big thing to take away is it doesn't matter if you have a firm of 4 people or 40 people. These are the issues that everybody faces to some extent. And it's because we're dealing with people.
Yeah, people suck.
And I always say it's one of the things that I find the most enjoyable is working with people, because I enjoy getting into the weeds and trying to figure things out and help people. I enjoy that part. And it also can be some of the most heartbreaking, because it's very possible that you develop and put a lot of time into working with somebody and they just don't give a flip, or they walk out, and like, it can be crushing. So it's some of the most rewarding work. And also it can be some of the most hurtful.
It's a heavy weight on any leader's shoulders. I think it's more than they realize. I didn't always realize it. I think back to when my younger part of my career, and I remember, I had some managers that were really bad people leaders, and some people that were really good at like having that difficult conversation because they cared enough to have the difficult conversation with us. And I appreciated both in different ways. I've learned a lot. Like, I was bitter. I got let go from a job 20 years ago, and I was super bitter for 5 years. And now I'm going, she did me a huge blessing by letting me go. She was probably learning how to be a leader. She was probably in her late 30s, early 40s. She was still learning how to be a leader, and probably we were friends. So this is going to be a really shitty conversation to have, and I don't want to have it, and I don't know how to address it, and please leave.
Let's get through this quick.
Yeah, I think that's what happened. And in hindsight, I'm going, yeah, I didn't set her. I was a terrible employee. They should have fired me. And it's the best thing that ever happened to me. So you just never know.
Yeah.
I think this is something that, we're talking about very much internally, trying to be more intentional about this, making sure it's a part of our understanding, like we're all growing. We're all growing and learning how to be leaders. We're going to be, that requires some patience and some, we're going to keep the guardrails up. We're going to keep the training wheels on as we learn, because we know what we want to get to.
Yep.
And that's okay.
And it's going to be one of our hope, our payoff here.
It's a multiplier effect.
It is going to be the thing that is exponentially rewarding.
Yeah.
And if we could do that well, it's going to set us up really well, because quite frankly, people are really the backbone of what we do.
It is. And we've talked about this before, which was, 1 + 1, if the 1 + 1 have the ability to multiply and be a 3 or a 5 or a 7, because you've now created you're a lot broader bandwidth, and it just creates the momentum effect of, look at and people look at the outside looking and tell me, look at this great leadership team you have. And I'm like, we do have a great leadership team, and they're all still a work in process.
And I could tell you 18,000 things that we suck at.
And we do, we've done the same thing though. I'd be like, I'm like, man, I think back 15 years, I'm really struggling to find managers. And I'm like, oh man, I think that'd be a great manager for you. I'm like, I don't see it yet.
Yeah.
Or I'm hoping they're going to be good, but I'm not sure yet. And we're not patient enough.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with leadership. It's the same thing with people development. We all have to be going we all have the idea that this is not going to be, it's not just fixed and it's done. It's going to just constantly have to get worked on. One step better, Mike.
One step better.
One step better.
It is. It's tough. It's tough, but this is, this comes with the territory of being a leader, being an owner. It's what you gotta put up with. So Like Matt said earlier, if you have some tips and tricks, some secrets, I'll be honest with you.
We will take them all.
Send them our way. We definitely need every bit of help that we can get. I do appreciate you listening to us, maybe rant a little bit, share some of the struggles that we're having and some of the things that we have to walk through. Definitely.
Just tell us we're not alone. That's all I can. Just tell us we're not alone.
Yeah. Just say, amen, brother.
Amen. God, this sucks. Why are we doing this for?
Excellent. Well, thanks, guys. I appreciate you listening. Make sure that you like and subscribe. Share our podcast. We really appreciate it. And we'll catch you next time. Have a great day.